Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with a really interesting box set from Deutsche Grammophon Eloquence, that is Australian Eloquence, 17 CDs of Hungarian pictures, Liszt, Bartók, and Kodály, featuring János Ferencsik and György Lehel conducting. Now, the interesting thing about this box is that it consists entirely of music that was licensed from Hungarian. But back in the day, in the 60s and 50s and 70s, or whenever this stuff was done, you couldn't get most of that stuff. Or most of it was licensed from Hungarian. I think some of it, not all of it, but most of it. You couldn't get most of that stuff in the West. And so it was issued just as Melodia was, for example, by license. And some of those licenses still exist. Now, we're familiar with Deutsche Grammophon's Czech Philharmonic license stuff. For example, the Dvorak Requiem with Karl Ancherl. That was a licensed thing that showed up on Deutsche Grammophon. And so these co-productions or licensed productions, whichever they were, didn't last long in the catalog once all this repertoire started to get recorded in the West, and also once Hungarian got distribution. But here they are, and it really represents a fascinating little moment in recorded history. And it was really a wonderful thing for Deutsche Grammophon, or Cyrus Mayer Homji in Australia, to put together this set of Hungarian co-productions and other Hungarian music from the earlier days of Deutsche Grammophon. So we have the book here, and let's see. Oh, look at all this stuff. And there's some wonderful musicians, by the way, and terrific performances. Oh, gosh, let me see if there's a whole discussion of how that took place. I forgot to even read the notes. Here we go. Yes, here we go. They talk about it was no easy task for major commercial labels to record musicians from behind the Iron Curtain during the Cold War. A label such as Deutsche Grammophon could take one of three options. They might wait for the musicians to undertake a rare tour westwards, as the Czech Philharmonic and Karl Ancherl did when DG recorded them in Shostakovich's 10th in 1955, and also the Dvorak Requiem and other things. Or, more adventurously, they might succeed in brokering a deal, often as not with the aid of a third party, which allowed their production team to travel and record in situ, as Decca did also in 1955 for a series of 7 operas in Belgrade. More common, however, was a licensing solution, whereby the Western commercial label would acquire recordings made by the state-run label of the relevant country, Superfon in Prague, Polska Nagrania in Warsaw, Hungarian in Budapest. Cold, hard cash was not always the currency here. Czech and Polish and Hungarian listeners were no less eager to hear French and German and British artists than the other way around, and DG, Decca, and EMI were among the companies striking such reciprocal deals, even into the 1990s. So that's how most of this stuff came about. And let's see what's in here. Some of these things we've even talked about already on this channel as Hungarian recordings, but the artists and the repertoire were actually licensed. Like, for example, Haydn, the Lord Nelson Mass. I mean, that's not Bartók and Kodály, is it? Exactly. But we have Maria Stadter and Claudia Hellmann and Ernst Häfliger and Victor von Hallam with the Budapest Chorus, the Budapest State Orchestra under János Ferencsik. Ferencsik, by the way, was a very, very good conductor. I mean, he really was. He did some terrific stuff. So some of you may be familiar with his Gura Leader that he recorded in Denmark. It was on Vox here in the U.S. But his Hungarian catalog is enormous, and there's great stuff in there. So we've got the Haydn Nelson Mass, a good performance, by the way, in the revised instrumentation, but still, it's fine. Liszt, a Faust Symphony with Ferencsik, not a piece that you heard very often back in the day. This was recorded, 1962, when it was quite a novelty. And the Dante Symphony, I had this recording with György Lehel and Tasso, Lamento e Trionfo, with Ferencsik. So there's that one, which is really, that was a rarity. And I remember getting my paws on it and being really thrilled that I'd managed to do it. Then we've got some Liszt tone poems. The Liszt Anniversary Edition Original jacket from, when was this? 1961, it looks like. It was issued on Koch International and then Universal in 1988. Okay, we've got Hungaria, Les Preludes, Orpheus, Mephisto Waltz No. 1, and the Spanish Rhapsody, orchestrated by Gabor Darvas, with Ferencik and Lehel conducting. So that's really nifty. Then there's this disc, which was on Koch. I know it was. It was Koch, recorded in 1983, but now it's owned by Universal. I mean, they put like a lot of things in here. So you've got the Liszt Fantasia on Hungarian folk tunes with Sviatoslav Richter and Ferencik, the famous recording of that. The Two Legends, orchestral versions edited by somebody, it doesn't matter, but they're by Liszt. That's the Two Legends are, what's his name, Saint whoever floating on the waves, and the Sermon to the Birds thing, and the Cantico del Sol di Francesco di Assisi, second version. These are all with Gerd Albrecht and Berlin Radio. Some very rare Liszt. And then Liszt, The Legend of Saint Elizabeth, with, goodness gracious, this is from Poland. The Warsaw Radio Symphony Orchestra under Siegfried Heinrich, with a bunch of, well, let's see, who are they? Polish people singing. We don't get to hear the oratorio very often. It's, yeah, well, there you go. St. Elizabeth was very highly regarded. It's a beautiful work. It was very, very highly regarded by Mahler and lots of other people around, the end of the 19th century. And this was a great recording, and really the only one we have, I think, still, of the Liszt Missa Solemnis, the Graner Messe, the Graner Messe, if you want to pronounce it a little better. I talked about this in a previous video, the Hungarian recording, because they did a whole series of Liszt choral works, and some of them are here. Yay! On Hungarian. So this is with the Ferencik recording, and it's a masterpiece, I think. I mean, choral music and one of Liszt's greatest works, and nobody knows it. Liszt, the Hungarian Coronation Mass, his other very large piece with Ferencik and a bunch of Hungarian singers whose names I will not mangle. Dohnányi, the variations on a nursery song, and Rorelia Hungarica. The pianist is, oh dear, Cornel Zempleni. Yeah, why not? With the Hungarian State Orchestra under György Lehel. And this was from 1962 again. These pieces were novelties in the early 60s, especially coming from Hungary. The Miraculous Mandarin with Ferencik, and the Cantata Profana. This is the complete ballet, Miraculous Mandarin. And the Cantata Profana under György Lehel from I don't know what this says, 60-something. I can't even read it. And they do these things where the type is the same color as the back of the... There we go. Here we go. Let's see what this says. Oh, there we go, 64. Oh, boy. Unbelievable. The Bartók Dance Suite and Kodai Peacock Variations. Look at that, with Lehel and the Symphony Orchestra of Hungarian Radio and Television from 64. Again, yes, I got that right. I can see that one. Bartók, what's this one? Well, the Viola Concerto, and it's coupled with Gyula David's Viola Concerto with Paul Lukas and Ferencik at the Budapest State Orchestra. Both works which didn't impress me, frankly. I've never much cared for the Bartók, and David is not a composer that I seek out avidly. Then we've got the Bartók Three Village Scenes and the music for strings, percussion, and celesta with György Lehel. Slowish tempos in the music for strings, percussion, and celesta, but interesting nonetheless. Bartók Piano Concertos, 1 and 2 with Cornel Zempleni, and let's see, who's this? And Tibor Weiner in Piano Concerto number 2. Zempleni does number 1 with the Hungarian State Orchestra and Ferencik. Are they the greatest Bartók Piano Concerto recordings ever? No, but they're historically valuable. Kodai's Summer Evening and Concerto for Orchestra with the Budapest Philharmonic from 1964 under Zoltan Kodai himself. Valuable. And disc 17. The last one. What is this? The 1961 Liszt Bartok competition. Liszt Piano Sonata under Gabor Gabos, piano. Mazeppa under David Wild. Funerai with Valentin Belchenko. I mean, you know what happened to these folks after the competition. And Bartok's Out of Doors Suite with Dino Ciani. Excerpts of Out of Doors, just two little bitlets. And that is it. But as you can see, I hope, it is really quite an extremely interesting collection. And it's probably not going to be around for long. So, there are genuine rarities here. And it's a fascinating glimpse into what was happening in the record business at the beginning of the 60s, behind the Iron Curtain. So it's Hungarian pictures. Kind of fabulous on Deutsche Grammophon Eloquence. So keep on listening, friends. Thanks for joining me. Take care.